and welcome to Injury Time, your one-stop shop for everything on Indian football. Well, the domestic season in India might be done, but football action still continues. This time, it's FC Goa who are set to make their maiden appearance in the AFC Champions League. Remember, Goa earned this right by finishing on top of the Indian Super League points table in the 2020-21 season. This time round, they find a place in Group E of this competition with three big-name clubs, Persepolis from Iran, Al Rayyan from Qatar, and Al Wada of the UAE. And in this episode, we will get to everything that is to know about these teams. Well, how cool is that? Helping me, your host in this episode, are two guys who are very familiar with Asian football. First up, joining us from a little outside Jerusalem is Uri Levy, the brains behind Baba Goal, the platform that focuses on Asian football apart from other continents as well. Hey, Uri.
Hi, how are you doing, Naveen? Thanks for having me today.
Doing really good, and thanks a lot for joining us. Also making his debut appearance on Injury Time is Ahmed Hashim, who is a journalist with Qatar Football Live, your doorway to Qatari football. Hey, Ahmed.
Hey, Naveen. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure is all ours, man. And our constant, like always, Sandeep, who joins us from Bangalore. Hello, Sandeep.
Hi, man. Hi, guys. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Well, guys, without wasting much of our time, let's just dive right in. First up, Uri, I would like to come to you. A team competition this time around, unlike the 32-team competition that has been the case over the past 39 editions of the AFC Champions League. What are you expecting from this time around, apart from the increased number of matches?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a special AFC Champions League edition because, as we've seen the last term, the 2020, that because of the pandemic changed its format basically and became and turned into a tournament that is much more similar to a World Cup or an Asian Cup, like a centralized tournament. This as well will offer different experience for the followers and the fans. As we're going to have the West Zone play right now this April in centralized venues in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and India. And this is why we're here. And we're going to wait for around almost 2 months for the other part of the East Zone, which is kind of bizarre. And it could harm a little bit the buzz and the vibes of the whole tournament, or the AFC Champions League as a whole. But, unquestionably, it's going to be a fascinating competition this year with many debutants, with many teams that changed throughout the pandemic. And, pandemic football is bizarre and it's a surprising theme. And I'm super excited to see what this AFC Champions League West Zone tournament we're gonna produce us. Yes, of course.
All right, Ahmed, what about you? How are people in Qatar perceiving this edition of the Champions League? One of the teams will be playing in India, not in Qatar. Are the Al Rayyan fans a little disappointed because of that?
Let me just say that Al Rayyan fans are disappointed, not because of the location, but because of their team itself.
Okay.
And I think I saw someone say that just don't bother traveling, don't bother participating at all, because they are disappointed with the team's performances lately. And even though they finished third in the recently concluded season, the fans are not happy at all with the team's performances, not just in the past season, but also over the past few seasons in Asia, because they've never qualified out of the group stages in the Asian Champions League in its new edition after 2003. So it's like a thing that fans of Al Sadd, for example, is the most successful Qatari club. They like to poke fun at Rayyan fans that this is not your territory, So I think Rayyan fans have come to internalize that as well, that they don't believe in their team that much, especially now that they don't have a very good squad, in terms of depth. So I don't think that they expect too much. So even if they just qualify out of the group, I think fans will be really happy.
Well, the banter game is going pretty strong in Qatar, I assume, with that.
Obviously, yes. It's been going on for a long time, yes.
All right. Sandeep, what about you? FC Goa making their debut, an Indian team in the premier domestic club competition of the continent. How is India perceiving the Asian Champions League this time around?
It's a completely new tournament for India. I've tried to speak to multiple players who have played, international level football, and Even the qualifiers for the Asian Champions League, and they all say the level is significantly different from the AFC Cup. And to be fair, our national team captain only, Sunil Chhetri, is like, this is unprecedented. I honestly do not know what to expect from this tournament. We've seen these clubs, but we've never played against them to see our level to compare. So this is massive for Indian football because let's be honest, the Asian Champions League is not something that Indian fans care about at all. You don't have telecast, you don't watch it. We don't know the levels that we are going to compete at. So this will be like an eye-opener for us to learn where we are, because there is this notion that Indian football is much ahead than what it actually is. With the social media and the promotion and things of that nature. So this will be like a reality check, and it's in a good way, because it's a chance for us to see where we are and what it takes to be at that level. So it'll be interesting. So we're looking forward to that, actually. And the games are at at night and at 10:30, which is absolutely great for someone like me, because I work quite late into the night. So 10:30 kickoff is perfect. I can sit and watch the games properly.
It's benefiting someone at least. Uri, this time Group E is what we are discussing in this episode of the Injury Time. 4 teams: Persepolis, the runners-up from last edition, and one of the biggest names from Iran, Al Rayyan from Qatar, yes. Goa from India, and Al Wada, who come through the playoffs. Let's talk about Persepolis here, a team that has been a stronghold in Iran and also in the Champions League. Yes, they were disappointed last time round to lose out on the final. Is revenge on mind for them going into this edition of the competition?
Yeah, well, Persepolis in the AFC Champions League in the past few years, I would say it's one of the biggest names that the competition can host. If you look they reached the final in 2 of the last 3 tournaments. They produced great players consistently throughout the years, also to Team Melli, to the Iranian national team, also players who are going and playing in Europe, and it's something that Persepolis in the levels of Asian football, it's a giant. If we look on the rest of the group, there is a major gap between in club size in comparison to Al Wahda and Al Rayyan, and of course Goa. But Persepolis is an interesting club, not only because of football, but also because its significance in Iranian society. Is Persepolis that was founded in 1968 was a huge symbol for for Persian identity in the revolutionary Iran. It's a club with really millions of fans in Iran and across the continent, and a big symbol for Iranian football fans, and we need to understand that it's a club that won consecutively 4 championships in the Persian Gulf Pro League, 6 cups. They haven't won any AFC Champions League whatsoever, but again, they are producing great players. And also right now, when we are looking at the squads of this group, and you look at the goalkeeper, Hamed Lak, and the CB, experienced Jalal Husseini, and you have young talents like Mehdi Abdikara and Mehdi Torabi, and experienced players like Vahid Amiri, and at the midfield, Ahmad Nurulai. And it's basically a team that's supposed to finish this group maybe 80% success. This is what we are speaking about. It doesn't mean that it will happen, in a tournament that is in a centralized venues with no fans, as we've seen in Qatar, and Ahmad can describe and tell us better than myself about last term tournament, what's going on and what kind of shocks can happen in an empty stadium or in a huge stadium with a minimum number of fans. But Persepolis is here to just cross above these 3 teams and go straight to the knockout stage.
Well, Ahmad Lak, you mentioned the guy who replaced Ali Reza Behranwad after he left for Belgium. He's been a revelation in the team since he joined in September, right?
Yeah, Ali Reza Behranwad is basically one of the best stories in Asian football. He was born to a nomad community in the northeast part of Iran, traveled alone as a teenager to Tehran, lived in the street, paved his way through the Iranian football lower leagues until he got to Persepolis, and he was a sensation. If you remember the World Cup in 2018, he stopped a penalty for Cristiano Ronaldo. I was there in the stadium. The vibe and the buzz was ecstatic. 60,000 people in Kazan. It was wow, something really. It was amazing. And Beran Vand, it took him time to settle in Antwerpen. Antwerpen is not an easy club to compete for the first team, and obviously a goalkeeper that shines in Asia has a lot to do and to go through before he can produce the same quality of work in Europe. But I think this season he received more chances. I had a first impression from Leo Rafaelov, an Israeli player who plays with him in the same team, and he only spoke praises on him and said, first of all, what a great professional Beran Vand is, and what a fantastic goalkeeper he is. And, Antwerpen are looking on Beran Vand as something, for years to come, not only for, to try him to 2 years and go back to Iran or something, and not at all. So in these manners, Hamed Lak, the current goalkeeper of Persepolis, is setting eyes on Europe, maybe Turkey, maybe Belgium. We're not talking about Premier League football here, but for sure, Persepolis is a wonderful stage to show your talent, obviously.
Well, yes, Persepolis hands down the favorites to get out of this group as the table toppers. But is there a weak link that other teams can probably rely on when they go up against Persepolis in this group stage matches?
You're speaking with me?
Yep.
Yeah. Look, again, everything that takes place in a centralized tournament, in a neutral venue for 3 teams out of 4 teams in the group, basically, it's open. It's a 50-50 chance, and Persepolis are also facing, the suspension of an important player from their team, Isa El-Kasser, whom we remember basically rocked AFC Champions League in 2020 with goals, and he was fantastic. Really, he was such a pleasure player to watch. But his celebration, he made this kind of a gesture that is not accepted in Asian football, obviously, which the AFC disciplinary committee described as a bigotry and how did he call it, a display of racism. That it was a misunderstanding and it was like a gesture he did for his niece or something like this, his cousin or something like this. But basically, man, when you are playing international club football, it's not Iran, it's not the Persian Pro Golf League. Bang the goals, celebrate as you can, but be careful with the small gesture, because you don't know. And I spoke with a lot of people in Iran about this incident, and many followers of mine in the Twitter wrote me because I was writing about it and telling the story. They tell me, look, he didn't know, and maybe it was his first time out of Iran, so he didn't understand the importance or the meaning of these kind of things. But he was a vital part of their efforts to go to the final. His absence was felt and significance in the final, eventually against Ulsan. A match that for me, Persepolis must win. For me, it was something that they couldn't let go. But these are the gaps, and Coach Yahya Golo Mohammadi will have to cope with what he have. And in Mehdi Abdikara, you have a good forward that will replace him, and for sure will bang some goals in this group for sure.
Right. Ahmed, Uri was talking about the problems of playing in a centralized venue, right? And matches coming thick and fast in a situation like this. You've seen the Champions League last time around. Also, the fag end of the competition happened in a centralized venue, and a lot of football matches now, competitions happening in a centralized venue. How different is it, given that there's no fans, nothing happening, and you're all by yourself inside the stadium?
Well, let me tell you, in 2019, in the semi-finals and in the quarterfinals, I was very fortunate to watch 2 very exciting, very thrilling games between Al Sadd and Al Nassr in the quarterfinals, and Al Sadd and Al Hilal. the stadium was packed. And Al Sadd Stadium is like, it's got a capacity of almost 12,000. And all the stands are covered. So when it's packed, it's amazing. The sounds are amazing. So I was able to enjoy that. And just 1 year later, I was back at the same stadium and there was not a single fan in the stands. So it was a very bizarre experience, as Yuri said before. I've never seen anything of this kind. And it's not just Al Sadd. There were matches played at some of the huge World Cup stadiums, 40,000 seater stadiums and nobody in the stand. It looks very, very strange. And it's not like these clubs cannot attract fans. In normal circumstances, if we were playing in a centralized venue like Qatar, for example, Iranian clubs always get fans when they come to Qatar or when they come to the UAE. Persepolis is a very, very, very famous, very popular club in Iran, as Yuri said. I mean, you just got to look at their Instagram followers, man. That's huge. And people really have a huge passion for the club. So I think it's a big loss for them that they're not playing at home. It would have been a great experience for clubs like Goa to go to the Azadi Stadium and experience something like that. But for Persepolis as a team, let me tell you, I don't think they're a team that goes down under pressure. They're a team that thrives in pressure. That's the kind of mentality that they have. For example, last season I didn't watch many of their games, but I was there in the stadium for their match against Al Sadd when Isa Al Qasir scored the winner very late on and knocked Xavi's side out of the Champions League. And then, as Yuri said, he was suspended for that celebration. And that was a huge blow for them because up to that point, he was the top scorer of the team and he had just changed the nature of their campaign. And to lose a player like that at that stage, I think a normal team would, they would be affected mentally, but Persepolis has huge, huge mental strength. And they were able to then overcome Al Nassr in the semi-finals. And Al Nassr, until that point, was one of the most informed teams. So Persepolis, I don't think it's a team that's affected by, the lack of fans or something like that. Even when they lose some of their best players, if you look at the last 3-4 seasons, they've lost Behran Wan, they lost Shoja Khalilzadeh, Bashar Hassan, Alipour, and all of these players who've either gone to Europe for better opportunities or better paying clubs in Qatar. So they've never been affected by that. They've consistently been able to attract top talent from other Iranian clubs and also some of their young talents. So it's a machine. It's a huge machine that you just can't expect, even if currently they're top of the table in Iran, but even if they were not, I would say form goes out of the window. It's that kind of a team. Persepolis is they're a team that thrives under pressure.
It's an Asian footballing juggernaut, if I may say.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
All right, but Ahmed, what about Al Rayyan? You said not a great season for them, despite finishing third, which will guarantee a playoff spot in next season's Champions League for them, if I'm not wrong. Laurent Blanc coming in, what has he done with this team, and where is his team heading now?
When Laurent Blanc came in, if I'm not wrong, Rayyan were outside the top 4. When he came in, I think they were 6th. I'm not sure of the exact position. And they were struggling, to get back into that the kind of position that they were in last season, because at the end of last season they were contending for the league title until the last day of the season. And if they had won the derby game against Al Arabi in the penultimate round, I think they would have won the league title, and it would have been a huge challenge, huge achievement for them. And to follow that up with this kind of a season, I think it has really affected them mentally. The players are not in good shape. But that was the situation when Laurent Blanc came in, because their star player, Yassin Brahimi, has been a shadow of his usual self. He hasn't been able to contribute in the same way as he did last season when he should have been the player of the year in Qatar. Most people would agree on that, but Akram Afif won the award at the end. But this season, Brahimi has been completely, I think, I would say that it's been one of his worst seasons in club football, probably. And I was able to watch one of his games last month in the Amir Cup. And I will tell you, it was very, very frustrating because he holds on to the ball too much. He doesn't pass to his teammates. And I can see from his teammates' faces that they're literally crying out for the ball, but they have too much respect for him that they can't, shout it to him, and that really affects the team's performance. And one of my friends, Walid, who runs the DZ Foot account, he's an expert on Algerian football. He told me this, that Brahimi, even if he's a very talented, very experienced player, he has this part of him, this characteristic in him, that when he goes down and when his performances go down, then the team is affected. And when when he becomes too selfish, that is the end of the team's, chances for that season. So that's what happened this season. He has not been inspired at all. So I think it's very crucial that Laurent Blanc is able to motivate him and to make him a better team player and be the inspirational captain that he should be, And I think Ryan will also be very, very unfortunate that, it's unfortunate that they don't have Gabriel Mercado, who's been injured. He was a very
something that I was getting onto with my next.
Yeah, he was a very, very, very crucial player for them last season, because they finished with the most clean sheets. The back line was amazing last time, and this time it was supposed to be even better with the addition of Shuja Khalilzadeh, obviously from Persepolis, and I think that's a good storyline when Ryan faced Persepolis. But with Mercado out of the picture, I think Ryan will struggle in that department again, because the goalkeeper has just returned from an injury. He's not back to his best. And the stand-in centre-back, Damit Traore, in my opinion and in opinion of most Al Rayyan fans, is just not good enough at this level anymore, although he's very experienced. So I'm a little concerned about Al Rayyan's back line. And when Brahimi switches off, then that's it for them, because their goal scoring department is very weak at the moment, with Johan Boli missing so many sitters. I saw someone write that Johan Boli was a prolific goal scorer. I don't know how you get that, because when he scores one, he misses 10 sitters.
Well, probably the 11 goals he scored so far.
Yeah, see, I can just tell you what Al Rayyan fan said. When there was news that he had an offer from a Saudi club, one Al Rayyan fan said that I would drive him to the airport myself. So that's the situation. The Rayyan fans have been clamoring for a better forward. For someone like Abdurazak Hamdallah, who's at Al Nassr right now, when he left Al Rayyan, it was a very lucrative move for Rayyan, because they got paid a lot of money and they weren't able to reinvest that and get a good replacement. And they've been suffering with that, ever since. So I'm not very positive about their chances. They may be able to finish second, but even that's not good enough in a format that has changed, right? So
yes, do you see them sneaking in as one of the best second place teams?
I'm not sure. Let's see how they'll cope with the change in conditions and playing while fasting and all after fasting and all that. So we have to see. As I said, it depends on Brahimi, man. He's on his day, he can change the game.
Okay. Well, that brings us.
Yeah. Navid, if I can, just to really, to strengthen what Ahmad is saying here. When I was covering Algeria in the Africa Cup of Nations 2019 in Egypt, at the beginning of the tournament, Brahimi wasn't a starter. Basically, throughout the whole tournament, he wasn't. So basically, all the Algerian journalists were afraid when Brahimi would start to be this depressive figure inside of the Algerian dressing room. But I interviewed him after the semi-final against Nigeria, and he was excited. And I think he was on the bench, or maybe joined for like 2 minutes or something like that, or didn't play even. But he was telling me, for me, to sit here and to see a Algerian winning team, it makes me feel happy. So I think that if Al Rayyan managed to put, the Qatari Cup final behind them, where they lost recently to El Saidia, and Brahimi will get into the positive vibes like Ahmad was describing here, they can compete with El Wahda for something here. I do think.
Well, Al Wahda and Al Rayyan, the teams looking for their second spot. But before that, Sandeep, FC Goa, a maiden campaign in the Champions League. We all know that getting out of the group might be a bit too much for them, but going into the competition like this, what can the Indian football fans expect from FC Goa?
Well, to be honest, if they get 3 points in the whole thing, I think I'll be happy. I think that'll be a good performance. 3 draws or 1 win, and the rest of them losses, whatever. Because look, these are West Asian teams. So the thing with West Asian teams is because the way the AFC Cup is now structured, Indian teams don't play a West Asian team until, say, they reach the final. Or maybe the semi-final. I'm not exactly sure, but much in the later rounds. And in the last, since 2008, we've reached the semi-final 3 times, of which one ended up in the final and lost to Air Force Club.
Right.
And so we don't really know the level that we are playing, the physicality of these West Asian teams that is coming into these tournaments. Because I spoke to Clifford Miranda, who played for the Dempo team, who reached the semi-finals in 2008. And he was saying when they walked through the airport, the people were actually laughing at them because they were genuinely laughing at them. He said, yeah, because they had no fear. They were like, yeah, this is an Indian team, whatever. But Dempo is one of the greatest club teams that India has produced, at least in recent history. We had good teams in the 60s and things, but too far away, right? Doesn't matter now.
Right.
So for them, it was a challenge. And they are the last teams to have played a few West Asian teams and beaten them or just about competed with them and things of that nature. So now coming here against this sort of physicality is going to be very difficult. Maybe they could have, the fans being there would have helped, but we know the situation with the pandemic and fans not being there is a big blow. And also if the matches are happening, let's say in the afternoon, at 2 in the afternoon or something like that, because of the heat and all these kind of the weather conditions, maybe they're training in that situation. They know it better. It might help, but they're playing in the night. The Goa's playing their games at 10:30. So I think it's more or less level, maybe humidity, but I don't think even that is a major factor once we reach at that time. So it's going to be very difficult. Goa is a good team for Indian standards. But we just have to see the difference. I'm excited to see the level difference between an AFC Cup and the Champions League, because we have seen qualifiers that in the Champions League qualifiers that BFC have played or Mohan Bagan has played. There also they went to Jordan and things like that to play these games,
Right.
and it was tough to watch them. Like, you don't look like it just feels like even the Air Force Club, the final AFC Cup final that we were there in Doha to watch that game. It didn't look like a great game because it's tough to compete against the West Asian teams. So they don't let you play the way you've been playing. You beat a Johor and someone, you outplayed them and things like they don't let you do that. And Goa likes to play on the ball all the time. They are allowed to be on the ball. They are better than most of the teams better coached than most of the teams in ISL. And they get to this level, they have to deal with the fact that they don't have that much of the ball. And they have to be running a lot more. You have to tackle a lot more. And they have some short fuses in that team who might, get a red card. And if that red card comes, then it's the floodgates have opened, because you can't run behind these teams with 10 men. That's just not possible. So it's a massive challenge. It's a different challenge, but one that we are looking forward to. And I hope even if they lose, people don't take it to heart and start, saying, "Oh, Indian football is shit all over again." Like, that happens all the time.
It's just the level that we are.
Yeah, but it's just the level, right? We're going to be very difficult to compete with them.
Right.
Sandeep, I want to tell you, the gap between the AFC Cup to the AFC Champions League is huge. As someone who covers the AFC Cup in the past 6 seasons with Palestinian teams, if you remember, El Kuwait Air Force Club won the AFC Cup 3 times in a row. We called it the ancient Sevilla, because they won it 3 times in a row. When they arrived the Champions League, they couldn't compete. They weren't in the level. So the maturity process that a club and a football scenario need to go through, making the adaptation between the AFC Cup to the AFC Champions League is a process of years. It's not a process of a few games. Right. And in this manner, Goa needs to be very, modest when coming to play such clubs, even if it's home.
Right. Sandeep, a huge challenge, no doubt about that. But given this situation, were you a bit surprised with the squad that Juan Fernando has gone on with? He's left out Jorge Ortiz, and he's also left out Igor Angulo, two of the guys who were really influential for him in the ISL.
Well, he didn't leave out Ortiz. He left out Noguera.
Sorry.
Angulo was a big surprise for me, because Igor Angulo has played for a long time
And he's someone who we have seen that he doesn't take too many touches to score a goal. Like his touch map is like 3 touches and 1 goal. That's his touch map per game or per half and things of that nature. So he is a very clinical finisher. So I would have always thought, although he does not really fit into the way Ivan Ferrando wants to play his football and things of that nature, having him who can come, just finish off the one chance that you might get in a game. And we know that the other players are not that great at finishing. Edu Bedia is never going to be in a situation where he is going to be at the receiving end of this. He's a free kick taker. So he's generally the guy who puts the ball in. And he's deep lying midfielder, so he's not going to be there. Ortiz is not as clinical. He's a very good player, very good dribbler, but he's not going to be the finisher that Angulo is. And they've gone with the 2 centre-backs, which makes sense. Donachi has played at this level before in Australia. Ivan Gonzalez is a good ball-playing defender. Maybe his height is a little bit of a suspect in this, but hopefully Donachi can be the main guy who goes for the header and things of that nature. But Angulo, man, I feel, this is me, he could have got that 1 goal that in that one chance that that FC Goa could have created. But again, the coach knows what he wants to do. But maybe Angulo doesn't run around. He doesn't press as well as Ortiz does. So maybe that's what he's doing. You have to be... but again, the sharpness that he has in the final third is something... it's one thing I keep thinking, but I don't know who he's going to drop. Ortiz is too good to be dropped, and Bedia as a captain, I don't know who he can drop, but Angulo could have made a difference in that sense. But again, it's the level. We don't know if he will get the chances that, and if he does get the chances, probably the defender will cover it up 3 times faster than what ISL is used to. So we don't know, but yeah, I feel Angulo could have done something.
Well, you sound really, really disappointed. Not seeing.
Yeah, I thought he would get the nod simply because he's a very good finisher, although he does not really fit Ferrando's style, and I think he's leaving at the end of the season also. So,
all right.
But he would have helped, I feel.
Well, that about Goa. Uri, coming back to you with the next team, Al Wada from Abu Dhabi. Let me tell you one memory that all the Indian football fans might have of Al Wada is it was at the Al Wada Stadium that India beat Thailand in the in the Asian Cup match. But beyond that, what is Al Wada all about?
Yeah,
let me tell you, the Indians do not remember that at all. We remember the win. We don't remember where it happened.
Probably I remember because I was there.
Yeah. Basically, for me, one of the nicest stadiums in Abu Dhabi is the Al Wada Stadium near the central bus station.
Right.
It's a great location. I really liked it as a stadium. I think Al Wada is coming to this tournament in some kind of a positive momentum in a way. They have Henk ten Kate, the Dutch, as a coach. He's a very experienced coach. He knows Asian football. He did good things, great things in Asian football and in the golf in his career, and he has a brilliant football mind. He worked in Chelsea in the beginning of the 2000s when the club was exploding basically in Europe. He's been at the top of what this game can offer basically, and he's a very, very, very knowledgeable coach tactically. Al Wada is not one of the top teams in Emirati football world, I would say, or the Emirati football hemisphere, or the golf football hemisphere. But it's a familiar club. It's a known club. But this season, I think that the strong part of the team is the attack. They have a few interesting options. In first of all, of course, Ismail Matar, who was basically
club legend.
Yeah, he's a club legend. He's an Emirati football legend, and he's a fantastic footballer to watch. He's a really fun player to watch, which I appreciate a lot. And also both Omar Khribin, Asian Player of the Year 2017, Syrian from Damascus, like my grandmother. I love this player just because he's from Damascus. But no, yeah, for sure. And he's a fantastic player that basically fell out of favor at Al Hilal after being good, basically, and a series of injuries and all kind of things, off-pitch issues that prevented him from shining. this season at El Wahda is finding his form back, which is really nice to watch. He scored a goal in the playoff that brought El Wahda basically to this group. So he became more important team member for El Wahda. And also Tim Matavs, the Slovenian striker, who is also a scorer, also has a great vision, also knows his positioning well and can play in a team. And also the locals, Khalil Ibrahim, Fares Juma, players that definitely can play good football in AFC Champions League group stage level. I would say, El Wahda basically is not a club that wins titles in one after the other. But if they stick together, they can provide something good and, maybe create a great achievement for themselves. Because right now, with El Rayyan's form, they seem like the favorite to finish second in this group for me.
Well, let me take that to Ahmed. Ahmed, how do you see Al Rayyan and Al Wahda in the fight to finish second in that group? Does Al Wahda have an upper hand in this?
Well, I think it could be very close. But I also agree with Yuri. I think that Al Wahda do have the quality in their team, that they have the upper hand. When you have a player like Ismail Matar, man, I mean, what do I say about him? Since I started following the game as a kid, he's been there and he's still there. Like he's the equivalent of Sunil Chhetri. So he's like still scoring goals, still inspiring the team. And when they qualified for the group stage in that playoff, it was on his birthday and the whole team was celebrating with him. He's very much the heart of the team. So with a player like that, who's very experienced, who knows the AFC Champions League, and he's also one of my favorite players in the Gulf because he's played in a very short stint for my club, Al Sadd, back I think more than 10 years ago. So I'm very happy that he's still here. And he's part of history, man. And for players like FC Goa, players of FC Goa to play against him, I think someone should tell them who this is and who they're playing against. And as for the team's quality, I think Omar Khribin is amazing. He was amazing back in 2017 when Hilal went all the way to the final. He was instrumental in that run. Obviously, they couldn't win, but he became Asian Player of the Year. It was a height of his career, but Hilal then after that season it didn't work out as well for him, and then he had to leave. And this is the point that he's getting back, slowly but surely he's getting back to form. So if he clicks, then I think Al Wahda can easily finish second or maybe even challenge Persepolis. I mean, who can say what can happen in a centralized football tournament like this one? Because if you look at the AFC Champions League over the past few years, I would say that domestic form very rarely, kind of influences the continental form. I remember when the East Asian teams were winning season after season in the AFC Champions League, Urawa Reds and Pohang Steelers, they would win in Asia and they would be suffering and struggling in their domestic leagues. That was what was happening. So people just need to find the motivation to play in Asia, to understand that this is a very, very prestigious tournament and that winning it can give you a place in the Club World Cup and all that sort of stuff. So players come into the tournament with a different mindset, So you can never know. So I'm predicting that Persepolis will win the group, but Al Wahda, can challenge them or at least finish second and go through.
Well, a completely different ball game, that is the AFC Champions League. Continental competition always does that to teams, right? Guys, that's for the discussion. But before we wrap up, there are a few questions that our listeners have asked us, and I'd like to ask you all to answer them. First up, there's a question coming from our listener, Ashutosh, and this question is for Sandeep. Sandeep, what do you think should be FC Goa's approach to these games? Should they try to win with an attacking mindset like they did in the ISL, or is it much different here? The level is too high for them.
Yeah, the level is too high for them. I don't think they'll have enough of the ball to have an attacking mindset. Over the course of the thing, you can try and counter-attack, I think. But when UAE, when the Indian national team played against UAE, you saw the level that the way that we can't press a foreign team, like Indian players, the full contingent of Indian players cannot go and press a foreign team because our timing is little off, and even a little bit off means they're immediately playing it through you and there is space in pockets, everything, and then they'll just destroy you. So I assume we're just going to sit tight and sort of stay in our own half, and FC Goa will then try to counter-attack if possible, because they have Ortiz who can run with the ball, who is a very good dribbler. So can he dribble and cause a problem? It's a major question that is there to be answered. Because beyond that, and we have Brandon is coming back, Brandon Fernandez. He's very good at set pieces and crosses. So again, when you cross the ball, is Ortiz the guy who can head the ball in? I have my doubts with that also. So you play on set pieces, whatever you get, and try and counter-attack. Because honestly, again, like we say this all the time, this is a level that we are not used to as Indian football fans or Indian football players or players playing in the league. This is a level we are not used to. The only player who has probably played at that level is James Donachi, and he's a defender. Although they did sign players, keeping in mind, this bigger tournament, this is the first time we have to do well here and things of that nature. It's way too high for an Indian team to go and try and outplay the opposition as such. So yeah, counter-attack all the way. That's. I don't think that's the way they'd want to play. I think that's just the way they'll end up playing. I think let's put it that way.
All right. Well, next one, let me take this question to Uri. Uri, Roshan, another of our listeners, wants to know who is the strongest team in the group. I think we have already answered that through our conversation. Persepolis from Iran. But what do you, like his second question is, who do you think will make out from this group? Persepolis, yes, because they are the strongest. Who could be the second one if there is one from Group E?
So again, as we both, me and Ahmed said, centralized football has its own rules, and it's very, you can scout the team and look for the best players, but eventually without fans in the stadiums, everything can happen. It's learning by the minute through the game. I do think that El Wahda is a little bit more chance than El Rayyan, only in manners of form. But if El Rayyan would connect, and Brahimi will be happy, so it will be El Rayyan and Brahimi and El Wahda and Ismail Matar. So it's quite an even chance to each one of them if they both play together and looks for the win. All right.
So, can I ask you guys something based on some minimal Wikipedia research that I've done? So this Al Wahda, they seem to be doing much better in cup tournaments in the last few years rather than the leagues. Are they a cup team? Are they built to play cup tournaments?
Ahmad, if you don't like, I would say just when I said this before, I think that Al Wahda is not built for cups because every beginning of the season they are saying that this season will be the season that Al Wahda finally win the title after a few years. But
that sounds like a lot of Liverpool fans out there.
Yeah, exactly. I think that they rise for when their back is on the wall and they must win. And it's a knockout game, and I think that this type of competition, this format, can definitely benefit this squad. Yes.
All right. Well, next one, questions for Ahmed. This one comes from our listener, Sean. He wants to know, will Champions League, the AFC Champions League and FC Goa participating in this competition, could this prove to be a platform for a few of the Indian footballers to show their quality at the continental stage? Because clubs are not only competing there, they are also scouting for talent, right?
I sure hope so, man. Because as an Indian, I really, really hope that our players can impress at this level. It's the biggest level in Asian football, and the whole of the Middle East is watching, and that's where some of the more lucrative leagues are. So it would be amazing if a player gets a chance to go to one of these leagues and show his worth. It's not like we don't have the talent. It's that we need some time and we need some experience playing at this kind of level. So it's just a matter of time, in my opinion. And there is a kind of a block. Like, people look at India as not a footballing country, So bringing in an Indian player in the Asian slot, that's not what most clubs would do. They would think of it as a waste of the slot. But that mentality could change in a few years' time. And I think, in countries like Japan, where they have this rule that when Asian players from countries like Thailand, they can come and they can be additional to the foreigner player quota, right? So if they have rules like that, then you have players from Thailand like Chanatip and Tirasil, and they've gone to the J League and they've impressed, and that has helped the J League's popularity in Thailand. So I'm really looking forward to one of the leagues in the Middle East, maybe Qatar or UAE, to take the initiative. If someone in those federations has the kind of long-term vision to see what India's potential as a footballing nation is, I think if someone takes the plunge and takes the risk and bring a good player from India in the next few years, that could be the start. Maybe this particular edition is not the start, but we could see that in the coming few years.
And I want to ask a question for all of you, basically, because we are covering in Babagol a little bit of Indian football in the format of long form articles that Shibaji does, our Indian football correspondent is producing. But if you need to put the finger on an Indian player that would fit in the squad of each one of the three other teams in the group, like right now, except let's say from Sunil Chetri, who would be this player that can right now play for Persepolis?
Brandon, yeah.
Brandon is the player?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Brandon.
So
unanimous. We are unanimous on that.
Yeah. I think in a few years, maybe Apuya can be one of them.
Yeah, definitely.
But right now, Brandon is as close to a best footballer we have in the country.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think one of the biggest things that Indian football fans should be expecting from this experience, because it's a first experience basically, is being patient and embrace Asian football. We already got many DMs from Indian football followers of Babagol that sent us, the hours are so late and it's going to be a disadvantage for our team and we're going to bring shame on Indian football. And also Martin, a plastic pitch, who's a great Asian football writer, asked me about the hours. And I said, this is part of Asian football in the AFC Champions League. We celebrate here everything that Asia has to offer culturally and footballly. And basically, it's a privilege to have it through the time of the holy month of Ramadan. And it's something that Indian football fans also need to embrace and understand that they are now playing with the big clubs of the Middle East. So if it's played during Ramadan, embrace it and take it as it comes. So it's a learning path that they are starting. So not rising up the expectation too high, because otherwise the disappointment will be huge in this case. And you are here to learn and grow. So it's a great chance, It was important for me to highlight, yeah.
Well, be appreciative, and it's a learning experience for Indian football and Indian football fans, this AFC Champions League campaign that FC Goa will be embarking on. One last question, and Sandeep, let me take this to you. It comes from a handle named Fern Lelouch. I'm pretty sure that's not the real name, but just the name of the handle. What should be FC Goa's realistic aim in the ACL? I hope, Sandeep, you have answered it. 3 points.
That is my...
that's what you're hoping.
You wish certain things, right? You wished when India went to the Asian Cup, be that best third place team and qualify.
Correct.
So that was our wish. But we knew at the end of the day that was a hard task. Mm-hmm. And it didn't work out. And here, get 3 points, get one win. Like imagine what one win can do to someone like a Princeton or a Sanson or this Romario Jesuraj, who are all in their young 20s, plus or minus 5, because this is Indian football. So they are young, at least in that sense. And what they can going forward. So Clifford and Princeton, they both come from the same village in Goa. Mm-hmm. So back in the day when Clifford was playing in the AFC Cup semi-final, Princeton was watching, because he was a neighbor and he was watching Dempo, who was the best team at that time, play. And he grew up watching Clifford Miranda. Clifford grew up watching Princeton's uncle, who at that time was playing for Salgaonkar, who was the best team at that time when Clifford was a young boy. So you can only imagine there will be someone from the same village who's young right now, who's going to watch Princeton play. And then when he comes of age, maybe he can be at a level where, we are now constantly playing Champions League and trying to get out of the group, or maybe even eking out a win here and there. So it's a process, but it's stories like this, right? It's the next generation that is going to benefit a lot from these competitions.
All right.
Amazing.
Well, he has one more question. The handle has one more question. Ahmed, do you want to take this? A man wants to know which Indian player would stand out in this AFC at the ACL level.
As I said, I think Brandon has the quality and the potential. So I guess it would be him. And let's see, because as I said, as Yuri said, and this is their first foray into Asia. It's the time to be modest and not have too many hopes. And they may not be able to play the kind of free-flowing game that they would rather play and that they're used to in India, right? It's a different ball game. So we may not be able to see what we want to, but I do hope it's Brandon. And as we just said, it could be an opportunity to be seen and noticed by others.
Right. It's an opportunity to be noticed with a lot of hopes. FC Goa will embark on their AFC Champions League campaign next week. Thanks a lot, guys. That brings us to the end of the episode. Uri, thanks a lot for making some time out. So goes with Ahmed and Sandeep. And to you listeners for staying throughout this episode and throughout our journey on Injury Time. You can always reach out to us on our social media handles, which goes by the name @InjuryTimeInd. Write to us, talk to us. We can have discussions. We can carry forward these discussions even there. So there's no stopping discussing football, right? Until we bring you the next episode of Injury Time, have a great time and enjoy the game.